In a country where independence is such a key component, the Christian message might stand out just a bit. Because independence means standing on my own 2 feet and being self-sufficient and self-sustaining. The Christian message is a complete opposite message. It's the complete message of dependence on God. Dependence on God is an honest recognition that you can't stand on your own. That without God to create you, you wouldn't exist. That without God to sustain you, you wouldn't have life. And that without God sending His Son to save you, you'd be damned eternally. So, while we can and should love the independence that we experience within our country, it's a blessing. We also fully embrace our dependence on God. We need Him for sustaining our life and for giving us His kingdom. One of the stories from the Gospels that comes to mind for this happened after Jesus had finished feeding the 5,000. That was an amazing miracle. He had miraculously multiplied a small amount of bread to feed a whole crowd and had 12 basketfuls left over afterwards. After this miracle, Jesus sent the disciples ahead in a boat, and He went up on a mountain to pray, which incidentally is why He went out to that desolate region in the first place. Well, while Jesus was praying and the disciples were out in the boat, a storm popped up on the Sea of Galilee, which seemed to happen from time to time. The storm put the disciples on edge already, but add to that in the distance they saw someone who seemed to be walking on the water coming towards them. At first they thought it was a ghost, but as he got closer they realized that this was Jesus. And amidst the wind and the waves coming to them on the water, that was Jesus. And from the boat, Peter yells to Jesus, "Lord, if that's you, tell me to come to you on the water." To which Jesus responded, "Come." Peter got out of the boat and amidst the wind and the waves started walking on the water to Jesus. So not only was Jesus' miracle amazing, but now he was allowing Peter to do this miraculous thing too. Of course, by Jesus' power. Now, Peter knew that he suddenly hadn't learned a new talent or garnered a power from within himself. He was walking on the water by the power of God, by the power of Jesus. But then he started to look around and he saw the wind and the waves and he became really scared. He had taken his eyes off of Jesus, and the moment that happened, he began to sink. Peter didn't have time for reflection, but we do. In the moment, how do you suppose Peter felt? Scared, helpless, impotent? All of the above. He couldn't save himself, but the one who could was standing right there. How often are we tricked into thinking that we have earned and deserve all of our blessings? How often do we accredit ourselves for our successes rather than giving thanks to God for these blessings? How often do we feel as if we are independent from God in parts of our lives? In that moment of sinking, it was obvious to Peter that he needed Jesus, and Jesus stuck out his hand and saved Peter from drowning. That's exactly what Jesus has done for us. In a sense, we were in the same position as Peter, drowning with no hope of saving ourselves, but Jesus saved us. He saved us by becoming one of us. He saved us by dying in our place. He saved us by rising from the dead. All of those truths are an immense comfort and motivate us not to try to become independent from God, but to be dependent on Him, to put our faith in Him and become even more dependent on Him. Because with dependence, that's exactly where we want to be.